I'm going to take you down the journey for peace. We have a very well recognized and experienced group of panelists who will deliberate and debate on this largest traded pulse in the world, which is yellow peas, which has over 7 million tons of production and shipments happening annually. We have panelists from representing most of the origins and destinations, and we will try and make an interesting synopsis of the markets as they have been so far, as what are the old crop stocks in various countries, how we see the sowing intentions, and of course, eventually to the more interesting part, and for what all of us have all of us are here, is the price range that this commodity would trade over the next few months and into new crop. Introducing my panelists, to my left, the first person is Chad. Chad has joined Viterra in January 2004 and has held various trading roles, including that of a domestic wheat and grains trader, and now is heading the peas portfolio for Viterra. Viterra, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, is the largest Canadian agricultural company. Chad sits as the Director of International Grain and Pulses Division located in Singapore. Chad currently manages the International Pulse Division on the origination of pulses from Canada, Australia, and Europe, and trading activities worldwide. On a day-to-day basis, he concentrates on the field pea trade focused on bulk container shipments originating from Canada, Australia, and Europe. Chad holds a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Regina, Saskatchewan, and which was obtained in 2003. Thank you, Chad, for joining us today. Next to Chad is Anand. Anand is the head of Cargill India, has 14 years of experience with Cargill, and in the present assignment, he is responsible for the food grains, feed grains, pulses, oil seeds, and proteins business of Cargill in the South Asian region. So this pretty much covers most of the activities that Cargill does in India. He has worked on trading desks of Cargill in Geneva and Singapore, has a hell of a lot of experiences both in physical trading and in the futures market. He is currently headquartered in Gurgaon, close to Delhi in India, and supervises 4 regional merchandising offices, 11 origination offices, and over 150 grain storage facilities, 4 port operations, and various oilseeds processing facilities in India. He is also Cargill Marketing Academy of Asia Pacific with full-time responsibility for customers, supply chain, and solutions. We look forward to inputs from Anand. Next to Anand is Sanjeev Dubey, who you have already met with and enjoyed a very interesting panel discussion on chickpeas yesterday. Sanjeev Dubey has a very interesting and enterprising track record. He co-founded a company called Aussie Pulse in 2001, nurtured it, developed it into one of Australia's lively, active and volume trading company, and then subsequently sold the majority stake to Gardner Smith, who we all know is a large Australian trading and asset management company. Sanjeev is an experienced international trader, having traded prior to 2001 in India for 11 years, in Malaysia for 6 years, and thereafter in Australia. Sanjeev Dubey is now a director on the board of Pulse Australia, and he sits with me on the executive committee of CICILS IPTIC. Sanjeev is also on the panel of approved arbitrators of the grain industry body GAFTA, and is appointed Justice of Peace in New South Wales. Welcome, Sanjeev, and we look forward to our interaction with you. Mies van Dongen needs no introduction. I'm sure over the last 25 years of Mies's career, all of you have at some stage come in contact with him, met with him, done business with him, and shared his experience. Born in Holland, living in France for more than 20 years, he was the managing director of Soufflé France for over 24 years, working in the global pulses business with Europe, Canada, Australia, India, Ukraine, Russia, and Egypt. Since early last year, he has started a consultancy company with all his years of experience. We have a very experienced individual here, and we'd like to take advantage of his experiences and his inputs, especially in French origin peas, in Ukrainian origin peas, and Russian peas. The young man sitting next to me again is coming from a very old and known family of Pakistan. Their family has been in business for a number of years. At least I know them for more than 20 years. Muhammad Ahmed is a director of the Awam Group. It is a family-owned business, as I said, operating for the last 40 years in the pulses and edible oils and oilseeds business. Muhammad is an MBA, has joined business and taken over export of the pulses division of the family. Among the businesses, Awam Group has also a pulses manufacturing unit, a rice processing unit, oil extraction plants, an edible oil refinery, and an oil terminal in Karachi. So at a very young age, he's been into all these businesses, and we look forward to his inputs in the panel discussion today. Last but not the least, I think we have Jiang from China. China, I think, is the new frontier which is open for peas. China is now importing over 500,000 tons of peas. And as you know, that whatever happens in China, it creates a huge swing factor in world markets, whether it's soybean, it is corn, it is wheat. The moment that China comes into the market, either as a buyer or seller, we see huge swings. And that is the question that I'm going to ask Jiang this time, as to whether he sees China becoming a major importer and creating that swings in the pea market. Jiang is head of the pulses and grain division of the Yihai Kerry Group in China, which is a subsidiary of Wilmar, and also one of the leading importers and distributors in China. Wilmar is also leaders for pulse exporting and consumer packaging producers in China. Jiang has nearly 20 years of experience. He has been my colleague at one stage, and he is now also sits along with me in the CICILS Executive Committee in the CICILS board. So that's the very interesting and experienced panelists that you have with us today, and we will now endeavor to take you through a very interesting and journey in the pulses world, and hopefully deliberating on what the supply-demand situation is currently and how we see it in the next 6 months. Before we start, I just wanted to take you through a few events that happened since the new crop in Canada, say from August 11, where we would normally begin a typical pea season, and certain highlights or certain events which have played a major role in the pricing of the commodity. Sometime in July, August of 2011, we came up with a big surprise with a huge drop in the Canadian crop size. Chad with me will talk more about this, giving you exact numbers. But in spite of the huge drop in the crop size in Canada, we had a very impressive lineup of shipments in the first 4 months. So evacuation and disappearance of peas out of Canada in the first 4 months was a historical record. So in spite of a shorter crop, we had a huge evacuation of peas from Canada. We then saw China emerging again as a rigorous and a regular buyer of peas. and systematically increasing the quantities of peas that they have been importing. That's why we have Jiang here. We are going to deliberate more on that. A couple of things that happened in India was that there was a huge supply situation in India. The Indian currency devalued by 20%, along with several currency gyrations that happened in both origination countries as well as destination countries. The PSUs in India, who were supporting the yellow peas complex for a long time, at one stage made a sudden decision of stopping to buy, and that had its effects on the world market. Indian PSUs had bought over 1 million tons of pulses from various origins, and that had its necessary tempering effect, if I may say, on the pulses markets worldwide. What came out also as a big surprise in the last 10 months were impressive shipments of peas from Ukraine, from China, and of course the big surprise, which was Russia. Russia had a very impressive lineup of shipments. With all this, we had the subcontinent of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh living in a period of disparity, over months and months of disparity. Incoming shipments reduced, the pipelines got drier, and then we very quickly saw a very impressive rally in the markets as the stocks at all these destinations depleted. So this is a kind of a summary of the events of what happened in the world of peas over the last 8 or 10 months, and I will start with getting Chad involved and his views of what he thinks is the situation in Canada right now, starting from what the stocks are, and maybe telling you a bit of what the situation there is. Chad.
Thank you, Pravin. Good morning. I guess first off, as Pravin already mentioned, the stock situation in Canada is fairly tight due to lower production this past year. I guess with that, prices have remained firm for the majority of the year, in addition to, or with the help of steady demand from not only China, but the Indian subcontinent. With that, I guess the entire Canadian grain complex has remained fairly bullish, and not only on peas, but also on other competing grains such as canola, wheat, and smaller grains such as flax. With that, the cash return and cash flow of the farmer within Canada has been very, very strong, which ultimately results in, I guess, less panic sell strategy from their standpoint, and that has also supported, I guess, the demand and the overall price from Canada. I guess just sticking with the old crop situation right now, to date, they're let's see, from an export standpoint, to date, and I have this as of April, there's about 1.5 million metric tons of total peas, that's green and yellow peas, that have been exported out of Canada. In the lineup, and with what we expect to be exported for the remainder of the crop year, which is ultimately the end of July, I expect exports out of Canada to be around 2.1 million metric tons. That is very similar to what StatsCan numbers show today. As for what is left to market as of today, I guess about a couple months ago, a month and a half ago, I was sitting in India having the same discussion, and there, according to StatsCan, there was about 900,000 tons of peas on farm as of December 31st, 2011. I think that there's going to be a small adjustment to production for that number, which probably increases production about 400,000 tons this past year. So in saying that, I think there's roughly about 600,000 tons of peas remaining in Canada today. Now again, with saying that, there's going to be about 225,000 tons left over for seed for the new crop plantings, which we're currently in. There's going to be about 100,000 tons, maybe 150,000 tons of domestic disappearance, so domestic use in Canada. And with that, we are expecting about a 200,000 ton carryout based on the remaining demand into the Indian subcontinent and China for the remaining few months of the crop year.
Thank you, Chad. Bal, would you like to comment on the situation in India and how the peas and the prices of peas have fared over the last season?
Sure. Thanks, Pravin. I think if we look at the overall pulses demand and supply situation in India, like Pravin said, pea happens to be the largest traded commodity into the pulses complex in the world. Similarly, it's the largest imported commodity into the India as well. And if we put, the subcontinent together, I think the subcontinent, which is India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, roughly does, about a couple of million tons of peas imports. Something interesting, what we had witnessed in the subcontinent with regard to the pea markets actually can be, hovering around a few things. First is the old crop. If you look at the old crop, I think we are done with the distress period, when the stocks, were in surplus. The stocks now are disappearing at a rate of about 150 to 160, 170,000 tons a month. Should be seeing some kind of tightness, into the market going forward in July, August. But at the same time, if we look at the new crop, which is just about, around the corner in August, September, the world is going to come back, with about 1.2 million tons of extra production in the pulses as compared to last year. So how the inverse is going to play between the old crop, new crop is a big puzzle, what everybody is trying to figure out. Whether it's 30, 40, 50, 60 dollars, nobody knows. So that's one thing, which will keep, the Indian market, fee for the peas demand will always keep thinking about it. Second is, about the currency. Pravin touched upon that also. I will go a little, in the detail. If we look at, the November-Feb period, we had seen 20% rupee devaluation to the 10% rupee appreciation in a matter of about 70 days. So nobody could fathom or, could foresee, these kind of movements. If we come, to the period which is March, April, we are again seeing the rupee devaluing, and this morning it has touched 50 to 80 already. So a very important aspect, along with the commodity, how the currency is going to play. Next thing, we are seeing now is the capacity part. I think, the pulses market, especially the commodity part of it, is going through, the consolidation phase. So far as the industry and, the origins are concerned. I believe that, with the Canadian Wheat Board, becoming, going on the 1st of August in 2012, there will be a big fight, for the capacities also, from Canada, which today happens to be the largest supplier. So till now it was the Canadian Wheat Board, which was paying, for these capacities, and I don't know, how very well commercially, these numbers were designed or not, but now it will be privates. So something, what, the market, has to really focus upon. Next is that we had, also heard about the changing dynamics, into the supply situation. We had seen the Black Sea, has surprised the world, in fact, in terms of the corn supply this year. So we had seen roughly about 7 to 10 million tons of corn coming out of this region, which had never happened in the past. So is this also going to get repeated into the peas as well? Probably is something, what we need to keep a watch, and we are expecting that these numbers are going to grow, and there will be a balance which has to be struck between the origins, which is Canada, which is conventional, and the non-conventional origins, which are Black Sea, and maybe to the US and the France as well. Coming quickly from the macros, what we are seeing around the globe, zeroing it down to India. India has its own piece of issues, which we had going through. PSUs is a big story. We had seen that, they were there, they are not there today. The reasons, can be discussed, debated, at length, and the discussions, may or may not be concluded. But the way I see is that, I see, the example of the vegetable oil story in India. So vegetable oil story 10 years back, we were, playing with a lot of government interventions, but over a period of time, the government of India, had given up, and they had said that, okay, the import should be left, to the privates, for the supply augmentation, and there is hardly anything, what we are seeing into that space. Is pulses also going to go that way over a period of time? Maybe or may not be. it's something, what we have to see. The government intervention in terms of, the stock limits and the only hedging tool available in the world, which is the futures exchange, they are contemplating about it, and there are certain administrative changes, they have already made. So how are they going to play on this, is also something, which will keep, us on thinking. And last but not the least, we all know that, India is actually a deficit, on the pulses. But whether India will be able, or the subcontinent will be able to bite the price or not, I think that's something which is going to decide about the demand pull and the supply push. So if it's a supply push, the story is very, very different. But if, we are completely dependent on the demand pull, I think Indian market is very, very price sensitive, and there are, I don't know what all the substitutes, which are available for the pulses, because it's primarily the nutrition, it's not, the cereals or, the grains. So something in which will keep, this market always, on the check. And between these, last, what, again, Pravin touched upon, we are closely, going to watch with the help of Jian here, how the China is going to play out, and how the imports, between the subcontinent and the China is going to play, as we go forward. That's what I feel, Pravin.
Thank you. Thank you, Anand, for some very insightful insights on the situation in India. Anand has very clearly demonstrated that there is going to be 160,000 ton per month of usage of the current stocks of peas that are in India at the various ports, which would then create a very, very tight supply demand scenario sometime toward July, August. He has expressed his concerns then on what happens in new crop as we go into August, and we have the harvest happening in France, Ukraine, Russia, and subsequently in China. The big question will be, we will be going into an inverted market, and how much this inverts will be is a question. Anand touched upon the government intervention program. The government is intervening at each stage. While the picture can be extremely bullish, the numbers can show that it's extremely bullish. In India, we have to be careful because the government comes and behaves erratically at times to create distortions in the market in an effort to keep the prices under control. And as Anand also rightly says, that historically bull markets have been always driven by supply constraints. So supply constraints will obviously support this bull market, but coming into the new season, if we have record crops coming in at all origins, we might see prices being tempered. Thank you, Anand, for these comments of yours. Sanjeev, going forward to you, we would like your inputs on what's happening down under, and how does Dun Peas fit into this entire scenario?
Thanks, Pravin. Well, in Australia, Dun Peas production, which is referred to as within the yellow pea space worldwide, is relatively a very small production. Most of it is exported out. So it is, it's really not something that will change the supply and demand. We're always following whatever is happening in Canada on the yellow peas. There used to be a time where Dun Peas used to command a certain amount of premium in the Indian subcontinent, but that has kind of phased away. It's just that too many people have got used to the yellow peas out of Canada, and price-wise it seems to be much more attractive. So it's just come down to Dun Peas being following whatever is happening in Canada. Dun Peas last year was a production of about 303,000 in fact, as per Pulse Australia figures, so which is fairly small in the scheme of millions of tons that Russia and Ukraine, Canada and India keep talking about. But most of it is all gone, just thanks to the last few months where there's been a pickup in price. Negligible stocks carrying over to the new crop. New crop planting intentions that we see in Australia is about the same as what was last year, so we don't see too much of a difference. Pulse Australia figures I quote again is they have a planting intention of about 258,000 hectares, which will again produce maybe about 325,000 tons of dun peas. So from Australia, basically, yes, time-wise, it is a key period that dun peas can be shipped out, November, December, January. But otherwise, apart from that, dun peas is mostly just following what happens in yellow peas elsewhere.
So we see a steady production. We see almost the same amount of acreage to sowing, and we'll probably see a similar kind of crop as you saw in the 300,000 range. Right?
That's
yeah.
right.
Thanks.
Yes.
Miss, your turn now, Miss. Can you take us through the maze of France, Ukraine, and Russia? And I'm sure all of us here are very eagerly waiting to see what the numbers come out of these origins, especially from Ukraine and Russia, Miss.
Yeah, thank you, Pravin. Starting with France. France is only a small player in this 7 million tons production in the world. France is only doing about 700,000 tons production of yellow peas. That's what only China already takes from Canada in 1 year. So it's a very small production. We have been in the past, I said it before, we have in the early 90s, we had 3.5 million because of subsidies. Subsidies are going away now. Brussels don't have any more money in their pocket, and that's why we're going down to 700,000 tons. This year, the main exporter was for 175,000 tons to India. It was our main customer. And we have seen since January, the soy meal prices are going up, are very sharply going up. And then for the first time since a couple of years, we have seen the animal feed coming back in Northern Europe, in Belgium, in Holland. And they are buying now also peas for animal feed for protein. So this is the first time, so they're in a little bit of competition. The price-wise for the farmer, it was a very, very bad year. The cash return is so bad that they had only 3.3 tons a hectare a yield compared to normal 4.5. So that's why next year we'll come back later on. The acreage will decrease, and that's a pity. I don't think that France will be in the long term a big player in this yellow pea market, because a lot is going for the local markets, for starch, for fish food, and a little bit for animal feed. But most of it is now going for starch. Only in Europe you already have starch usage of about 250, 300,000 tons in France, in Belgium, and in Germany. So if you go back to the Ukraine and to Russia, Russia is a very good, quality-wise, good production of yellow peas. They came from 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million tons. And so total, if I take Ukraine and Russia together from the Black Sea, they produce about 2.2 million tons together. This year, they sold a lot out of the Baltic. The Baltic Sea is in the northern part of Russia, and as the allocation of railway cars was very difficult to get to the Black Sea, they sold a lot of those peas to our customers, the last couple of years, for French customers, for the fish food. This small cargoes of 6,000 tons, and that was from the Baltic Sea. And most of them, they will be also next year, they will be very, very aggressive. We come back later, I think, on the production for next year. So also the thing is, price-wise this year, this is the first year in history that all the peas has been traded on the future market, but over the future market for wheat. We don't have a future market for peas. So everyone is trading over the future market for wheat. And the return looks like it's better for the farm. The cash return looks a little bit better for the next year. So I think that we might see some more peas next year, but we come back later on. That was it for the moment. Thanks, Pravin.
Thank you, Miss, for that very precise summary of the situation there. What is interesting is that the production in France due to subsidies has clearly dropped substantially to 700,000 tons, and as Mies says that France will slowly lose its importance as as a supplier to the edible markets as demand from the starch industry, from the feed industry in Norway, Belgium and Germany, and the feed industry in France take up this demand. Thank you, Ms. Mohammed. Your comments on Pakistan and the surprise increase in import that we saw in Pakistan, if I am correct.
Thank you, Pravin. Pakistan is not as important as the Indian said that they import about 160,000 tons a month. So Pakistan import is about 120K a year. This year we would see a surprise increase in demand because what we are seeing is that we are having a very low chickpea crop. Our chickpea crop has dropped substantially, and chickpea and yellow pea are very much correlated in Pakistan. So we could see an increase of 50 to 60K of yellow peas import, yellow peas consumption within Pakistan. Pakistan don't have any yellow peas production within Pakistan. Whatever we need is imported out of other countries. Some factors which determine markets in Pakistan is definitely one of it is currency. Currency has played a major role in Pakistan. Since last 5-6 years, it has devalued like 30 to 35%, and it can change the dynamics of Pakistan import. Also, another thing which I would like to mention is Pakistan has a double demand in the month of Ramadan, which is like in July. So we could see a very good demand in June in Pakistan for yellow peas because people prepare 1 month prior to Ramadan. Another factor which I would like to discuss is import breakup. Like last year, the current year we have been mainly focused buying from Russia, Ukraine. Prior to that, we were buying a lot of product out of USA. But as this year, US has been busy with the USDA program, so we have been majorly supplied with the Russian, by the Black Sea market. Another thing which I would like to mention is about the gas and electricity situation in Pakistan. That plays a major role because if we have a continuous supply of that, we could see an increase in demand in Pakistan. Earlier we didn't had this, we had a shortage of gas, and because of that we could not produce much of yellow peas within Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. It's interesting to note that there is a large shortfall in the chickpea crop in Pakistan, and there will be, considering the current spread between yellow peas and chickpeas, it is but natural that the consumption will move towards yellow peas, and as Mohammed has stated that he sees another 60 to 70,000 tons of increase in imports of peas into Pakistan. And now to the most interesting part of this maze of yellow peas is China. And this is the new emerging market, the new emerging frontier. And as I mentioned earlier, that anything that happens, China rocks the world. So, Jiang, your perspective on when are you going to rock this world of peas?
Thank you, Pravin. China now buy more quantities of peas for our domestic market because we have some usage for this item. In general, I think China has a very short history for importing peas. I think we started around the end of roughly 1998 to 1999, and it is very occasional we buy from Canada because China export many cargo commodities to Canada, but the container freight from Canada is very cheap because no cargo available to China. So some importers started to buy some peas to China have a test. But it's luckily that after that, China buy very regularly from Canada, and now I think it is the largest pulses we imported to China except soya. In my view, Chinese imported yellow peas, we could see like 3 stages till now. Firstly, it's started from like container business, and before 2008, I think main business done by containers with roughly 200,000 200,000 metric tons and more or less. After 2009, it's the second stage that because Chinese local agriculture commodities increased very fast after 2008. So more and more piece imported to China to replace like tomato starch and other uses. Also bulk vessel used for instead of containers. For example, I have some statistics from 2009, 2010, and 2011. 2009, we buy roughly 370,000 metric tons of yellow. Oh no, totally a piece, including yellow and green. And 2010, our quantity is much more than 500,000. We reached roughly 550. In 2011, we are still increasing, and the last figure is 730,000. And now I think China keep similar like the volume of 50 to 60,000 metric tons per month for importing. So for us, we have for peace usage, we have three channels. One is of course with China. We possibly many friends know Chinese. They have some Chinese traditional food, vermicelli, and peace is one of the best raw material to made for that. Also because of Chinese, usually China produced by mung beans. But the mung beans in China now is over $1,000 commodity. So peas is a good replacement. And now in vermicelli, it's 25% of vermicelli made from by peas. It's roughly 200,000 metric tons. And also we have some industrial uses for starch making. So basically we see for the industrial uses for peas, we have 50% of our importing. Then the next is for snack and for some direct eat. I think 30%. Also now another more industrial we use it for the feed stuff. I think many of peas are used for the bird seeds feeding. So these are so we feel that basically now China has fast growing for the peas importing, but my opinion is that in next 2 or 3 years the importing volume should be a little stable. Only we could find other new use for the peas. So let us see. China possible will keep like the quantity like 700,000 to 800,000 metric tons per year for peas. And also another issue is that in China is that we from me's introduction and from others, Ukraine and Russia is a big producers for peas, but China cannot buy from them because of the phytosanitary issue. So at this moment, for the peas importing to China, we are still mainly focusing on like Canada, USA, Australia, possible UK is also a country, but UK have less peas we can buy. So I think at the present market percentage, Canada nearly I think more than 95% of importing volume we get from them. So because last year USA it was a high price and less quantity we buy. So I think now for China, Canada is a key supplier, and Canada price is the most important for us. Of course, now for peas, because Chinese usage is different, like our friend India use it. So I don't know. We are also very sensitive for the price, because for this usage, we also have some other cross competition price. For example, in 2011, why we buy quite a big volume of peas only because of Chinese potato is very expensive, and it made the potato starch very, very expensive. So, but at that crop, the peas price is very reasonable. So more and more peas importing to replace potato starch. So that's the basic idea I feel, and I would like to take this chance to discuss if there are any opportunities.
Thank you, Jiang. That's a very important point that Jiang made, that the migration towards consumption of peas happened because of a large price spread which creeped into peas versus mung beans. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very important point as economic progress seeps into developing nations and rather poor nations like the Indian subcontinent and to some extent China. We see that there is a shift of calorific consumption to nutritional consumption, and this economic progress is going to look for more nutritive, protein-rich foods, but at the same time is going to look at price competitive foods, if I may add. So as you see, if the meats of the world start increasing in price and consumption is going to increase, I think pulses is one of the best replacements. And within that gamut of pulses, in terms of availability, we all know that the largest crop is pulses, is peas. 7 million tons of peas will be available next year, and hopefully this production grows. So the effort will not be on finding a market for the peas. It will be more on where do we grow the peas, or where do we find the peas for the market. Coming back now for some more specifics on the peas situation, I thought I will run a quick poll on what the stocks are in each country, starting with Chad. Chad, what is the old crop stock as per you in Canada?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's about 600,000 tons of, I guess, stock that can be sold still. Now I'm deducting what is in the books already for business for the, I guess, what's currently in the books as we know today. So in addition to that, there's obviously going to be additional business within the next few months here to China and Indian subcontinent. But from what we know, there's about 600,000 tons of stock available.
And what would be the exportable part of this 600,000?
Basically, the majority of it would be exportable.
Okay.
Now, again, I'm deducting 225,000 off that for seed, which currently Canadians are in new crop planting, so about 225,000 ton for seed, which you'll have to deduct. When we talk about a carryout stock, I am estimating carryout stock of about 200,000. In saying that, like, that is very, very tight for Canada. That's ultimately saying that there are no peas left, or it's very, very difficult to purchase those peas. So, doing the quick math, there's about 450,000 tons of actual exportable surplus, I guess.
Okay. Thanks, Chad. Anand, your comments on the stocks in the port stocks in India. We know that they are depleting fast, but if you could put a number there.
I think if you look at the subcontinent, then between the west, east, and the south coast, put together, we should be, and this includes the dun peas, from Australia as well. This should be about 360, 370,000 tons, in the India as a country, plus whatever we have in the Bangladesh and Pakistan to just the market going on. So about 400,000 tons of peas stock, into the subcontinent with a disappearance rate of about 160, 170. The important point here would be that, how much more supplies, we are going to see in the month of May, June, and July. And some of them are known, but, the only surprising element to this could be if there is more coming from the Black Sea. But looking at the overall scenario, what we have today, and the demand, for this pea market, looks like it's a 400 sub kind of a number, which before the new crop comes will lead to a bit of a tightness as far as the old crop is concerned.
So there we are. We have 400,000 tons in Canada, and the Indian subcontinent, that is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, is another 400,000 tons of stock as far as old crop is concerned. Sanjeev, on how you see the stocks of dun peas now, and what do you see will be the carry out?
Well, we see almost negligible, so there's going to be hardly anything which is going to be left over. So I would say, even 10,000 tons, something like that.
Okay, so 10,000 tons. So that's really tight, not much left in Australia. Mies, we want your number for France, Ukraine, and Russia.
For France, by June the 30th, I think nothing will be left. Hardly anything is left in this country, has been sold everything. So they have a normal carryover of 20,000, 30,000 tons, that's all, but that's normal, there's nothing special. So the stocks are very tight. For Ukraine, it's the same. You don't have anything left there in that country. For the Russia, you might have 150 to 200,000 tons carryover, but it's not well placed for exports through the Black Sea or through the Baltic Sea. So this cannot be used for India export or for yellow pea human consumption. Thanks, Pravin.
Thank you. Mohammed, what are the stocks in Karachi?
I think stock in Karachi should not be more than 15 to 20K. The point is that in Pakistan, I mean, we can replace easily what we are selling locally, we can replace easily with the international cargo. So what buyers are doing is they're just selling and they're replacing it. So it's hardly, I think, 15 to 20K left.
Okay, thank you. And Jiang, what are the stocks in China?
In my view, in China, we still roughly have 100,000 metric tons of stock of yellow peas. And in the coming months, China still will buy some volume, but now business turns very slow because I think everyone is worrying the cheap price of new crop.
Correct. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We come to a number of between 900,000 to 1 million tons of stocks, both at origin and destination, till new crop appears to be able to be shipped out of France, Russia, Ukraine, and subsequently Canada. So that establishes your old crop numbers. Now, what I would like to do is again a quick poll on what the new crop planting intentions are in terms of acreage and what kind of crop numbers we will expect to see out of France, the Black Sea region, and Canada. So let's start with Canada. Chad, what's your number for new crop?
The number for new crop, I guess, first off, the competition for acreage in Canada has been very, very fierce. I'm sure a few people have mentioned it throughout the week, but canola acres are going to be at record highs, over 20 million acres. The wheat, although the world wheat story is not that bullish, the Canadian farmer is, and that's due to the changes in the delegislation of the wheat board. So we're going to see easily over 20 million acres of wheat. My estimate on Canadian acreage for peas is a little over 3 million acres. And compared to this past year, Stats Canada showed the acreage of about 2.3 million. That will result, I guess this new crop will result in approximately 2.9 to 3 million metric tons of production out of Canada.
Thank you, Chad. So that's 2.9 to 3 million tons of expected new crop. But do note the comments made by Chad is that we have had record prices for both wheat and canola. So there we will be acreage, some competition for pea acreage as far as canola and wheat are concerned. So it depends on what choice the farmer ends up making. Sanjeev, your number on the done piece?
Yes, well, similarly, there is a lot of competition on acreage in Australia as well, but we still feel that there will be the consistency in the production in dun peas, which actually is harvested in November, December, January. So around that time, the planting intention at the moment is, according to the Pulse Australia figures, I said 258,000 hectares, which should produce roughly about 325,000 tons. So that is in line with what has been in the past, and it'll just remain consistent.
Okay, thank you, Sanjeev. Miss?
Yeah, like I said before, for France, the cash return was not very good for the farmer because of the yield. So the planting intentions are down by 15%. But as the yield should be normal, I don't see a reason why it shouldn't be this year of 4.2, 4.4 tons per hectare. we might see everything between 700 and 750,000 tons of crop, which is about 10% more than last year. For the Ukraine and for Russia, the cash return was good. Farmers are happy with the yields. They had a good year. I think they want to plant more. They will plant more. That's for sure. But I see there's two problems. You have a problem of lack of seeds. That's the main problem for the Ukrainian farmers and the Russian farmers. In Ukraine, it's a little bit wet for the moment. You have seen a little bit of winter kill in the southern part of Ukraine, which might be seen a little bit more with peas. So you might see an increase in peas acreage by 10 to 20% in Ukraine. I would just want to come back to France also. France has also a winter kill for the first time since a long time, winter kill in winter wheat. That has been reseeded by a part of it with peas. So that's why we have a little bit more peas than everyone was thinking. So winter kill in Russia is normal, 3%, 4%, so it's not a problem this year. So they also had a good cash return. They also will seed more. Planting intentions are higher. So you might see Russia and Ukraine together for a production of 2.3, 2.4 million tons.